After the major divisions that nearly split the ANC last year, what does the future hold for the party and for South Africa? My guest today is MKMVA NEC member Carl Niehaus. Carl Niehaus, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you again.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, you were listening to my guests earlier and they painted such a doomsday picture for the ANC. They said it's not united, it hasn't been united post-Nasrec. Do you agree with that as the MKMVA?
Justice, look, we have challenges. That is true. But I do not believe that there's no future for the ANC. I also do not believe that we do not have leadership. But the challenge for our leadership is to implement the policies and the decisions that were taken at Nasrec. And those are the radical economic transformation policies. If we implement those, if we stick to what the conference said we must do, we will win the coming elections next year. We will have strong leadership, and we will be able to resonate with the people and the needs of our people. Our big challenge, let me just say this, our big challenge is to make sure that we address this huge gap of rich and poor. If we can manage to address that, if we can manage to address the issue of land restitution without compensation, if we can deal with the Reserve Bank, if we can change the financial institutions and truly make them as instruments of serving our people, we will do well.
But
the challenge is that our president and our leadership must do that.
Is finding a scapegoat. Instead of saying the African National Congress has been in power, as Prince Marshall was saying, been in power, running the army, running the state, running the intelligence services and so forth. The African National Congress has failed to redistribute land to the poorest of the poor, has failed to lift the economy, and so forth and so forth. So it sounds to me that you're now blaming the banks or someone else instead of saying, let's implement policy.
I agree with you. We have not made enough progress. I was a couple of months ago on this same show. If you go back to that recording, you'll hear me say that we have actually failed to do that. Exactly what you've said now. But of course, we cannot be stuck there. The challenge is for us, are we going to move forward now and implement the policies? If we do that, we will succeed. If we don't do it, we will fail. And that is the harsh reality.
I hear you there. When it comes to policy, let's say you've put out your stall and said, expropriation without compensation, Reserve Bank and so forth, all these policies. I want to ask you about personalities now. You yourself, many of your comrades were outside court supporting former president of the ANC, former president of the country, Jacob Zuma, at his corruption trial. Many people would say, you yourself as an organization, the MKMVA, are stoking those divisions within the ANC by defying the ANC when it said, do not go in our gear. Go, by all means, go and support Jacob Zuma, but do not go in ANC gear. And many, many people, you'll agree with me, it was a sea of black, green, and gold out there.
Let me deal first with that particular resolution that the National Executive of the ANC took. I personally think it was ill-informed.
It was taken by the NEC of the ANC.
Yes, but let me say this to you. Many years ago, the longest-serving president of the ANC, Oliver Tambo, said to me, you never take a decision that you cannot implement, and you never take a decision that will divide the organization. That decision of the NEC did both, unfortunately. So I, as a loyal and disciplined member of the African National Congress, was prepared to accept the decision. That's why I went, I think I had the same suit on that I had then. I didn't have an ANC
The
t-shirt
evening before, you had a shirt that was black, green, and gold. That was a foundation, but...
Oh, the night before, you're talking about the Nkululeko Foundation. That was not an ANC t-shirt.
It was ANC colors.
No, ANC colors, of course.
Black, green, gold. The
I cannot
wait,
Justice. Listen to me. I cannot suspend the fact that I'm a member of the ANC. I can try to comply with what I thought was an ill-informed and wrong decision of the NEC. I can say that I disagree with the decision without being ill-disciplined. That is the reality. It's a reality.
There were many people who were ill-disciplined there who arrived in ANC t-shirts.
You know why they went there? Because they feel that they're ANC. And I was not going to tell any one of them that they were not going to wear those T-shirts. I think, and I repeat it again, the NEC erred in that decision because it was not an implementable decision. But let's deal with the issue of why I was there. I went there, yes, as an individual, but I continue to be a member of the ANC. My membership cannot be suspended. My membership of MKMVA cannot be suspended. But I went there to support a fellow comrade. The speech that I made on the stage, standing next to former President Zuma, I said, when I was in prison in 1991, when he came back from exile as one of the first leaders, I was still in prison. He visited me in prison. He gave support to me and my family. Why, as a comrade and on an individual basis, would I not do the same for him? And no one can tell me not to do it.
Fair enough,
that would be wrong.
Can I ask you about the ANC? Do you think that the current ANC leadership has done enough to support Jacob Zuma? Do you think that the stance that it has taken now is supporting Jacob Zuma in his time of trouble?
No. Short and sweet, no. I think that, as I said to you, the decision that the ANC-NEC took was unfortunate. And I think that we are judged by how we also deal with the basic principle of comradeship. And comradeship is there to support people both in good and in difficult times. I'm not a fair weather comrade.
What are the consequences of that failure of support, if you will?
I think it makes people question whether comradeship is still what it should be. You see, my concern is not the issue of former President Zuma now being faced with charges. My concern is the context in which those charges have been brought, the previous political interference, all the negative publicity that there had been against him over 15 years, and the way in which the dice is loaded against him.
Is this a conspiracy, you say?
No, I'm not even wanting to go there. But I have to raise a concern that has to be challenged to the judiciary. The judiciary in this country, I believe, are independent. I believe they are professional. But they have a huge challenge with regards to this particular case against former President Zuma, because they will have to address this very negative environment that had deliberately been created around the person of former President Zuma. And that is a challenge that they will find very difficult to address and deal with in order to give him a free and fair trial. I doubt whether he will be able to have a free and fair trial.
But many people would throw the question back at you and say, this is the same Jacob Zuma who willy-nilly fired so many leaders of many institutions and put people who are seen as yes men and yes women in those positions. And I refer specifically to Sean Abrahams, the head of the NPA in this regard, who many people said it's only when the political winds changed that he charged President Jacob Zuma. All along, he was happy to keep quiet and not do the work that was needed.
No, but what's the point you're making about Sean Jacobs?
I'm making the point about Sean Abrahams, that he is seen, many people have said he's sat on his hands on case after case, the Gupta cases, the Jacob Zuma cases, and many others, where his or people seen as his political masters would be implicated.
Well, I cannot judge in terms of how he made his judgments. What I can make a judgment on is that this particular case that has now been brought against former President Zuma is in a context that is very problematic. That is what I was referring to. That is what I'm discussing with you now. And I think the judiciary and, in fact, him as the National Prosecuting Authority, the director, should have taken these issues into consideration.
County House, I've run out of time, but I want you to give me, as a veteran of the ANC, as an MKMVA NEC member, where will South Africa be in 5 years' time, given the challenges the ANC faces now, the challenges the country faces now?
We have to deal with two possible scenarios. The first one is if the ANC leadership fails to implement radical economic transformation, all those issues around land restitution and fundamental economic transformation that I referred to. If we fail, we're going to be in deep trouble. If we implement those resolutions and make sure that the people of this country truly become the power of the economy and that they can make sure that this economy serves them, we will not be in trouble, we will be on a good footing. I hope that we will be able to get the second and not the first, because the first will be truly too ghastly to contemplate.
County House, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Stay with us for our comment of the week.